Okay, here's a short and sweet video on tornado warnings because they are important to you and to your family and to your loved ones. So what I wanted to point out to you is the difference between a watch, a warning, and an emergency. You may hear of tornado watches around New Jersey, meaning that the conditions are good for tornado formation over the next few hours. An emergency, a warning is when the tornadoes have been visually spotted and confirmed by tornado spotters or on radar. And as you know on Doppler, we can see rotation on radar now. And an emergency is when a tornado has been spotted moving into a populated area. So you often will hear about watches, but if you have family in other areas of the country, you might hear about them talking about warnings more often, and if they're near a city, about tornado emergencies. I bring this up because in February of 2020, on I think February 4th, very early in the springtime down south, there was a very unusual battery of tornadoes that hit Nashville, Tennessee. You may remember this. And it was really shattering because it was so unexpected. And I wanted to give you the Twitter feeds off of that whole day. So here it is in the middle of the day. I'm sorry, I thought it was in February. I was wrong. It was in March. Sorry about that. In the middle of the day, the National Weather Service in Nashville points out that you're getting a lot of rain. And they say, we'll have some severe weather this evening. You can't rule out a tornado, but there's a low threat of tornadoes, right? Severe outlook for weather from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. today. And it's mostly going to be wind, all right? And maybe a bit of hail, but it's mostly going to be wind and a lot of rain. Then, later in the evening, they put out a tornado watch saying that the situation could change in a few hours, just a watch, through 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. Later, after that, they put out a tornado warning because, they had seen it on radar, right? This was during the night at about 11 o'clock in the evening. People go to bed in Tennessee at 11 o'clock. It is farther west than we are, and it is farther in the time zone. So people go to bed at that time generally. And suddenly the National Weather Service is trying to get out a warning to people who have put their phones away at 11 o'clock at night. And then they quickly put out another one with larger hail. And you see the population changes, okay? Population 14,200, population 500,000 getting toward Nashville. And that was right at about midnight in Nashville. They kept tweeting out, trying to catch people and get them under protection. And then they talked about hail the size of baseballs in here. And trying to warn Nashville. Then later they go to a tornado warning saying this is a life-threatening situation, seek shelter now. Then they are just screaming, now this is an extremely dangerous storm. Lebanon, you are next. You should be in a safe place now. This is 12:30 at night. People were sleeping. Nobody was waking up to this. This is now, this is valid until 1:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Then they get to, I'm trying to point out to you. So they're saying this, Mount Juliet, take cover now. Get in your shelters. It was a devastating night. I believe somewhere on the order of 35 people died that night as a result of the tornado warnings that were too late for the people that were there. So I wanted you to know about the difference between a watch, a warning, and an emergency. In summary, what you need for these big cyclonic storms that evolve from an ordinary thunderstorm to a multicell, to a supercell, possibly to a tornado, you need a conditionally unstable atmosphere. You need to be able to grow those clouds. You need the frontal lift of those air masses and those occluded fronts, and the wind shear that is producing and supporting the rotation. You also need a moist, warm air mass. So I hope that this helps you to understand severe storms. Hurricanes are next, and I'll see you in Chapter 11.